Welcome to Art is Elementary. Today, you will learn how to paint a flower garden, perhaps something like this. The supplies that you'll need for this project are a piece of white paper, a watercolor paint set, a paintbrush, water in a container, and paper towels. Now, let's get started.
Okay, boys and girls, today we're going to make a watercolor painted flower garden. I'm going to be using watercolors. You can see I have my watercolor set here and a cup of water and a brush. Here is my garden that I painted. I wanted you to look at this first because I wanted to point out that these flowers, some of them have more than one color. You can see that this flower has orange, but there's also yellow. Now I want you to look up at this color wheel, and I want you to see that the orange and the yellow are close by each other. That means when you paint them with each other, that when they mix, when they're wet, they will work very nicely together. That's called analogous colors. If they're together on the color wheel, that's called analogous colors. Please notice this flower right here that has blue and a little bit of bluish green, and this one right here that has purple and blue, and again this one with blue and a little bluish green. And I want to point out that the rose up here is red and it has an outline of purple, and I want you to notice that red and purple are near each other on the color wheel, and that's an important thing to remember when you make your flowers. Okay, so I want you to watch as I show you the steps. I'm going to begin with the white sheet of paper, and I want to remind you, I have my paint set right here. I want to remind you that it's important that you stir the paint to make the color nice and bright. You want it nice and bright because, as you know, I can show you this now. If I just get a little bit of water on this green paint, it's very pale. But if I do this, listen, stir, 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 round and round, stir, 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 round and round. That's what I teach my kindergarten artists, that the more you stir, the more beautiful and the more intense the color will be. Do you see this nice green? Much darker because I spent time stirring and dissolving that dry paint into liquid paint. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make some stems. I'm going to make some short ones, a tall one, a curved one. I'm even going to make one with a tall one and a curved one together. And you can make as many stems as you want, but I want to leave a little bit of space between these. I'm going to come back and do the leaves after I make my flowers. The first thing I'm going to show you how to do is make the rose that I spoke of first. Now this red is going to be very pale unless I stir, 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 round and round, stir, 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 round and round, stir, 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 round and round, stir, 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 round and round. Now watch this. I'm going to make an oval first. See how deep and rich that color is? So this is an oval, and you might say, well, that doesn't look like a rose, Mrs. Woodleaf, but I'm going to come back to this, and it will look so much more like a rose. Now, I want you to think of the letter C and a backward C, or half of a heart. Do you see half of a heart here and half of a heart here? So half of a heart on each side, and then I'm going to paint those in. Now, I'm going to come back to the rose because I'm going to add detail on top of the rose with purple, but I want to wait until this red is dry. So now I'm going to rinse my brush, and I'm moving to another flower. Next, I'm going to make a flower that has both orange and yellow, because you can look up at the color wheel, there it is, and you can see that orange and yellow are right next to each other. So watch this. I'm going to stir, 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 round and round, stir, 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 round and round. Now the flowers I'm going to make are going to be made mostly of curved brush strokes like this. Curved going this way, curved going this way. It looks sort of like the letter U. I'm going to make another one, and another one. Maybe another one here, another one here. Now I'm going to rinse my brush, and I'm using yellow because yellow is near orange on the color wheel. how nice this looks. Oh, that looks very nice, don't you think? That was easy. So now I'm going to do the same kind of flower, but maybe over here. And I'm going to use blue first and do the same type of strokes, curved strokes. And I'm going to go back with the purple because the purple is near blue on the color wheel. Look up at the color wheel and you can see that purple and blue are right next to each other. Analogous colors. See how beautiful that is? That works beautifully. Now I'm going to rinse my brush. I'm going to go over to this last one. I think I'm going to use blue again. Make two smaller. And this time I'm going to use green because as you can see, look up at the color wheel again, blue and green are next to each other on the color wheel. There, lovely. Now that I've made my blooms on my flowers, I'm going to focus on making the leaves. I'll show you a variety. No, I did not forget about the rose. The rose is still drying. It's still a little wet. See, I don't mind that these run together, but when I make the rose, I do not want the paint to run together. You'll see. So now I'm rinsing my brush, and I'm going to stir, 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 round and round, stir, 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 round and round. I'm going to make a leaf that looks like this. Make a straight line and a straight line, easy squeezy. I'll make a curved line right underneath and a curved line right underneath here, like so, and then paint that in. That's kind of easy. Now I'm going to show you another way to make a a leaf. Maybe a curvy leaf, and maybe another curvy leaf, and make it a little wider and it gets skinnier, a little wider and it gets skinnier. I might even want one up here. You decide how many leaves you want your flower to have. Now my rose has different kind of leaves. I'll go ahead and show you. I didn't leave very much room for that, but I'm going to make some lines that look like this. And then I'm going to make small leaves that are attached to the line. This is what a rose bush. I went out and looked at a rose bush. My neighbor has some. So I went and did a little research outside and learned that that's what those leaves look like. And last, I can just make up any kind of leaves with this one. How about this? Oh, that's kind of different. I've seen flowers with leaves like this. Now, you might want to add some grass at the bottom. Now I'm going to go back to my rose. I told you I would. It seems to be nice and dry. So I'm going to stir, 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 round and round in the purple. And if you'll notice up at the color wheel again that red and purple are right next to each other on the color wheel. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to outline that oval with the tip of my brush. Do you see how purple looks so nice on top of that red? I'm going to outline this one and this one. Now I want you to think of a cinnamon bun. And at the very top, I want you to make an oval. Look at this. A spiral, excuse me. And go all the way down like this. It's almost like a question mark. And there's my rose. Now some would ask, Miss Woodleaf, can we make the sky? But look, we're looking down at the garden. We're not looking up at the sky, so we would not make a sky in our picture. You could add some little creatures, maybe a little butterfly flying over here. You're experts at butterflies. I know you are because you just made butterflies. It's hard to get too much detail with this fat brush. There, I think I'm finished. So now, I'd like you to make your flower garden. Get started.